And we're back. Yes, and if you haven't clocked it yet, I have used certain accessories to, yes, pull off the very infamous beret, pearls, blue dress ensemble that best resembles Miss Monica Lewinsky. Again, not to poke fun, just again, I try to dress according to what's best known from the show. And yeah, there's nothing more of a eye-opening staple than the infamous dress that she kept. But I want to play a little snippet so you guys can hear. I've never even heard the audio tapes till this show came out, and I didn't even know it had been uploaded to YouTube. I can link it in the description box. What you're about to hear, and again, kudos to Sarah Paulson because I want to say that somehow she's able to really seek the humanity of all her characters, regardless of how loathsome they can come across, and still make them relatable, and you sort of understand their course of action of how they led their lives. You know, again, we don't see somebody who is particularly too happy, is going through a divorce or has divorce in regards to Linda Tripp. Doesn't seem like the most jolliest of people. Doesn't get along with a lot of people. Um, that's not to say that she was a hateful person because she was loved with her family. Her children loved her. And you see in the first couple of episodes or however long their friendship lasted, a very motherly, nurturing relationship between Linda Tripp and Monica Lewinsky. Remember, we're not talking about Monica Lewinsky today in age. Today, as she has matured, we're talking about Monica Lewinsky, really fresh eyed. And that's not to say that she was like, duh, you know, or in the clouds. But I mean, she had just, you know, evolved from late teens. She was 22, I think, when she started interning at the White House, and 24 when she met Linda Tripp. So we're still talking about a very young, precocious person, you know, really dreamy. Yeah, she still has a good head on her shoulders. She had a great upbringing, you know, and and I'll get into that a little later because I think the way, and again, I don't know if it's just the luck of the draw or her upbringing, but the way that she is able to evade any real jail time could be attributed to the fact that she is from a well-to-do family. And had she been any other race or didn't have the means for a good lawyer like she did, would the outcome been the same? You know what I mean? That puts things into perspective too. How she was able, and it wasn't an easy swivel, or that she was able to convince also those FBI agents, because when they, and again, I'm not saying that it wasn't a scary circumstance. She's surrounded by men telling her that she could probably serve up to 28 years or 26 years in prison for her perjury, for her lying on the affidavit about not having a relationship with President Clinton. She's scared, but the way that she was able to, like, I don't know, maybe because she contemplated, maybe she had the gift of gab. You do hear her talking a lot. Like 4 hours, if not how many tapes this woman taped of her, so that she has the gift of gab. That she was able to convince FBI agents, you know, to let her out of the room, to allow her to walk and shop and whatnot until she was able to get a hold of her mother, as she really desperately wanted to talk to the family lawyer. Would she have been able to do the same thing, pull the same stunt, has she been a black woman or a Latina, anything other than what she was, a white Jewish lady? It just, it puts things very into perspective as well. Anyway, it's just food for thought, but I'm going to play a small clip But you can also, and not for nothing, when you hear the clip too, I mean, again, I'm no spring chicken. I do recognize how naive she comes across in the audio, and I can't help but think like, well, it's something that I could, I mean, not that I would be in a position like that, but and never say never, don't judge. I'm not trying to be judgy here, judgmental of her lifestyle choices, but you can hear her innocence and how this woman, again, maybe there was a portion of her that saw Monica as her daughter and she was trying to be the best of friends and perhaps influence her to get away from the creep, quote unquote creep. But at the same time, like, Jesus, the way she is able to maneuver the conversation, and effortlessly too, to get Monica to confess what was happening, what had happened, how long their affair or fooling around had lasted, who was involved, was so calculated and sound like genuine concern. So you kind of have to play between the two dichotomies. There's like, are you a friend or foe? Because really, like, the way you sound like you're very nurturing and trustworthy. But in the meantime, you're doing this grubby ass thing of like taping her without her consent or knowledge. So I'll play a little bit of it.
Encouraging. Then the next guy is like, Gail, would you get down? Get Thomas.
She's even talking to
There
her
had to be someone
pets.
before.
A lot of it is also bleeped out.
Get down, Cleo. Up with this other guy that I don't remember his name. Oh, Monica. Not good. And I'm trying to think of Andy. And then I had sex with
She's talking about like these personal accounts. These are actual audio tapes that played everywhere.
So 8. Ooh, I'm getting up there. Well, 8 over X number of years isn't not that many years. In the 1990s is not all that unusual. No. Well, I guess you can count the big creep in a sort of half-assed way.
There not it is, the big creep.
I never even came close to sleeping with him. Why? Because you were standing up? We didn't have sex, Linda. Not. We didn't have sex. Well, what do you call it? We fooled around. Oh. Sex. I don't know. I think if you get to orgasm, that's having sex. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. It's not having sex. Is having intercourse. You've been around him too long. That's his rationale. That's my. Then I've had sex with a lot more people. Oh. Having sex is having intercourse. That's how most people would. Oh, so jobs and all of that don't count. They don't count. Oh. See? You'd have to inform me. That you just fool around with. Oh my God! Really? You mean it's less personal to give a job than have intercourse? No, not necessarily. Sometimes it depends. I guess it depends. It really depends. Yeah. I'm getting an education late in life. Yeah. Well, that's our.
So, you hear it. You hear that, which, again, I mean, those are very personal details that I wouldn't share necessarily with a parent, but who knows? Maybe there's a lot of open relationships between mother and daughter to be talking about personal accounts like that. But again, the way she's talking to her, she's able to kind of infiltrate her head and get her to trust. And the fact that there were so many freaking tapes too, personal details, excruciating details, because the reason why I say is because once Monica realizes that now all those tapes are in possession of these FBI agents who are desperately trying to impeach the president, and that she would have to make it a point, she would have to go through every personal detail. Something that would have never seen the light of day had Monica never been transferred to the Pentagon, has she never been so forthcoming with Linda Tripp. And let's just call it what it is, if Linda Tripp had never taped those conversations. it would have probably changed the history of, of American history. It would have changed that time period had this never. And again, that's not to say that now this was the only outrageous thing ever committed in the White House. And I'm sure a number of other things went down and were just better covered up. But notice too also that with the progression of the internet, only horrible things have happened. I think. I mean, again, it depends on where you stand on things. Yes, the internet has helped. It's been a source of wealth of information, but then at the same time, it has come with all of like all these things coming to light. The reason why I say is because around this time, the reason also why the FBI agents were so adamant about getting Monica to cooperate in exchange for immunity, which was just, honestly, that was just a carrot that they were dangling. Because I believe a Time reporter had, the exclusive on that. And again, Linda had ran her mouth to not only her agent, but also to, a journalist. And so this is the granddaddy, like I've mentioned in other videos. This is the granddaddy of all trolls, and how that benefited him, because in getting the dirt, whether it was fully truthful or not, it was a deviation from journalism that before was so well respected with ethics and whatnot. But when it was leaning more towards gossip and fodder is when, again, I'm not saying it was the demise of journalism, but basically anybody can do it now. And this was the granddaddy of that, the Drudge Report, which he's still active to this day. Matt Drudge, very dragnet looking fool, and again, no shade, but that's what you can see from his picture on Wikipedia. Matt Drudge is an American journalist, but that's not how he's painted here. Again, I don't know the whole story. I'm just going based on what I see on the show. And he looked like, your average Joe Schmo working at the gift shop at CBS, and that's where he would get his dirt, go nose diving through the dumpsters. And then AOL, again, we see the infamous AOL and that horrible screechy noise that it always used to make as you connected to the internet. He was one of the first people that really blew the top off of this scandal, and is infamous for it because he also contributed to this mess. So, let's get a little information on his backstory. Hold on. Now check this out. In March 1995, the Drudge Report had 1,000 email subscribers. By 1997, Drudge had 85,000 subscribers to his email service. Drudge's website gained in popularity in the late 1990s after a number of stories which he reported before the mainstream media. Drudge first received national attention in 1986 when he broke the news that Jack Kemp would be the Republican Bob Dole's running mate in 1995 presidential election. 1998, he gained popularity when he published the reporting of the Newsweek. It was Newsweek, not Time. Reporter Michael Isikoff, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, becoming the first media outlet to publish the news that later became the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And to this day, this man has done very well for himself, because I believe he's managed to finagle a career on Fox News. And Fox was just like building its name, around that time. So, and then it is the layer of Satan that it is today. So, in 1998, Drudge Media National waves when he broke the news that Newsweek magazine had information on the inappropriate relationship between the White House intern and President Bill Clinton, the Monica Lewinsky scandal, but was withholding publication after Drudge's report came out. So, it put a number of people in these positions of power, and those are the people that would go and influence what we see today. And it has only built in strength, and now it's had these little like crazy babies with QAnon and all. You see the development here that initially would have been like, it's just some whack job or whatever. But then it would go on to do what it has done, and it has changed American history literally step by step. So you see an account for that. And not for nothing, we also even see, how people were not feeling Hillary even back in the day, not because necessarily because she stood by her man. She was always an opinionated lady, and I think something about her, no shade to her, I was a Hillary fan, but I get a feeling, hold on a second, I get a feeling because she was not that type of person to wallow or be the wallflower in the background. She had her own opinions that people didn't necessarily like that about her. And then unfortunately, when she ran for president in those two attempts during Obama's run, and now in recent years when she went up against Trump, she was still not liked. But you see it here. You see it how it developed. I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily the affair. I don't think it was the affair of the multiple affairs. I think it was just some people are like, some people aren't liked, unfortunately. And it doesn't matter. You could be as accomplished and as powerful as a man, and people still won't see you that way, which is odd, but it just tells you how our society is built. Now, I loved it. I loved the show. I think it gave a great introspection. Again, it tells it from the perspective of the women that were affected. Even the actress. Hold on a second. The actress Annalee Ashford, who played. Hold on a sec. Paula Jones. Which is so odd because I think they interviewed Paula Jones and she says, she just, I don't know, maybe because she wasn't asked to contribute like Monica did, but I think she did a phenomenal job. And even with the prosthetics and everything, but just the fact that she was able to get her twang, how people, and even the empathy that read on her, no, I'm sorry, the worry that read on her face on how people would depict her. A lot of people were like, why would he date you? And how they really viciously, went in on her looks. Nearly every woman was criticized because of that too. Like, why would he pick you? Why are you so important? There's even a big blow up between her and I think was her name Deborah Norville, and it's on YouTube, and I can link that down below too in the description box, where they had a big blow up just based on Paula's look at the time. And she had been so harassed by the press about her look. She had a nose job done, and still, like, she was very sensitive about her looks and how people were like, why you? Everybody had prosthetics, even Sarah Paulson, to do her the best aesthetic that would closely resemble to Linda Tripp. And I think honestly the makeup team did a great job, the wardrobe too. Song selections are very much 1990s. You really feel like you're in the 90s with this show. And Clive Owens, who I mean, he had the most prosthetic because he had to pass off as Bill Clinton, and even down to his accent. Because remember, kiddies, he's British, and I think he did a phenomenal job playing that Southern twang, Arkansas. They really did a great job with this series, and I really recommend it. Even down to, I believe her name is Cobie Smulders, who plays Ann Coulter. Oh, she did that so phenomenal, and I even had like a whole like get up that I was gonna do, but who wants to dress up as her? Like, really, no. I'm sorry. reprehensible and Coulter, but you see the development. And even Ken Starr, who they got to play Ken Starr, and all of the men that were involved in the interrogation process. For heaven's sake, we see a young Brett Kavanaugh and how disgusting he was. I mean, again, no shade. Again, this is just public opinion. Don't come for me. But this man was really freaking sketchy even back in the day. And that's what you learn here, too. Again, you can find this research online. This is by Insider, businessinsider.com. Just as Brett Kavanaugh, because look where he went, that he ended up achieving, wrote a memo with a list of sexually explicit questions for former President Bill Clinton during a fog of sleep deprivation. Yeah, right. And later regretted how it came across, a former colleague of Kavanaugh's told The Atlantic. After a series of clerkships, Kavanaugh cut his teeth in the conservative legal world on Special Prosecutor Ken Starr's investigation into the Clintons. The wide-ranging probe scrutinized the Clintons' business dealings in Arkansas and Clinton's lies about his relationship with former intern Monica Lewinsky, which eventually led to his impeachment. The memo, dated August 15, 1998, resurfaced during Kavanaugh's 2018 confirmation hearings. It was titled Slack of the President. In it, Kavanaugh expressed outrage about Clinton's behavior in office, writing, "The president has disgraced his office." Right. Don't throw stones in glass houses, honey. But anyway, the legal system and the American people, by having sex with a 22-year-old intern and turning her life into shambles, like you didn't help in that department. He called Clinton's actions callous and disgusting behavior. Okay. The memo included a suggested list of sexually explicit graphic questions for Clinton, such as, if Monica Lewinsky said you inserted a cigar into her vagina while you were in the Oval Office area, would she be lying? And if Monica Lewinsky says that you had phone sex with her on approximately 15 occasions, would she be lying? How gross. Why did you need to know all those freaking details? And again, this is all information you can Google. This is actual, this is factual, and this is exactly what went on. And it's funny how the tables were turned when then people were pressing you about your disgusting past. But whatever. Again, I digress. We learn about all that information. And then we also recount, again, we go back to that famous scene where Monica's in the hotel room waiting to speak to a lawyer and terrorized. For 11 hours, she was terrorized, honestly. But she was able to walk free. They did allow her to walk around the mall. And not for nothing, when she was like really scared and trying to speak to her mom, in contact with her mom, they were telling her, like, you can't tell her anything. They wanted to monitor all her phone calls. She runs into Linda. Linda was let go. Linda did her part. She did her trashy part with the tapes, and she goes shopping. And I'm sorry, I had an outburst of laughter because I was like, no, bitch, no, you didn't. Sorry, but that's the only word that fits here. Because like, after all the bullshit you pulled, you go shopping, hooker, and you leave me holding the bag, bitch. So, sorry that had to just come out. But again, what an interesting show. And it really puts things in perspective. I think Monica being on board contributed to what we have a better idea of what that was, and and we have an understanding of also how this has gone to affect her life. She had to do something because who the hell was going to hire her after that? She wrote books, and we see why she has stayed relevant in pop culture, but it hasn't been an easy road. And the way they have ridiculed her, the way that they have really assassinated her character. Like, she's still the butt of jokes all these years later. Like, 20, maybe close to 30 years later, she's still the butt of jokes. And anyone else, I think, honestly, perhaps would have called it a day and tried to harm themselves. And I'm not promoting that here, but that amount of pressure and scrutiny under that microscope really can play with your mental health. And the fact that she's still strong and she's still if anything, she's an advocate for bullying. She's done a number of TED Talks and stuff. You know, just does make her a survivor, you know? And also how she never really got an apology, you know? And in the wake of now Me Too, this would not have flown. This that would not be flying. And you know, not for nothing, we've forgiven and we've forgotten, but they interviewed him recently, Bill Clinton, and not for nothing, he was one of my favorite presidents. But after seeing this, it's kind of like, And they interviewed him, and he was like, "Well, I have apologized publicly, but you haven't apologized to her. You messed up her life." Again, maybe she wouldn't have been such a chatty Cathy, but again, you can't blame her. She was young. She didn't know what she was doing. And again, how was she to know that this woman was doing this nonsense behind her back? Again, may she rest in peace, but bitch, you don't do that. You don't do that. And eventually, I think she did. She went on to do something in terms of like some kind of book, but I don't know if it necessarily really went well. She just sounds like a crazy, resentful Republican going off on a Democrat. You know, she would have fit perfectly. If she would have been in perfect health, she would have fit perfectly with the QAnons and all the nuts that we see today. So, yes, it's a very interesting show. I do recommend it. It's currently streaming on Hulu. 10 episodes. Again, Sarah Paulson is my heart. I think she deserves all the accolades that there is. Give this woman an Emmy. Bravo. I loved it. So, but yes, y'all, with that, I leave you. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Give us a like. Leave us a comment down below in the comment section. If you'd like to follow me here on YouTube, hit the subscription button and notification button so you can be alerted of my next review. And stay tuned. I'm looking to watch a few other new shows. I just saw Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac. Boo Boo. I was not and I'm not even that Marvel type of girl, but I'm digging the first episode. It just premiered on Disney Plus, and I'm looking forward to more episodes to come. So, hold on. Let's play this out. Who remembers Ace of Base? Ace of Base, man, that was a good group back in the day. And again, the soundtrack. They have great songs on this show. So, again, Ryan Murphy. I stand you. Alright, y'all. Till my next review. Stay tuned. XOXO, XOXO, Nerdy Girl.